Hello, my name is Ben Lovegrove, and in this video I'm going to list those airlines that have carbon offsetting schemes, as well as other ways for compensating for the environmental impact of your travel choices. Most people are familiar with carbon offsetting, but for those of you who aren't, here is a brief explanation. Carbon offsetting is the process of making financial payments to projects and schemes that compensate for the carbon footprint that results from your habits and lifestyle, in this case air travel. It needn't be just for air travel, of course. You could also participate in carbon offsetting if you travel by sea, by road, or not at all. If you live off-grid in a tipi, then your carbon footprint is going to be very low. On the other hand, if you drive a diesel car and jet around the world on business several times a year, then your footprint is going to be considerably larger. Whatever the size of your personal or your company's carbon footprint, you can offset your impact by sending voluntary donations to, for example, projects that siphon off methane gas at a landfill site, or a project that helps distribute environmentally friendly cooking stoves, or any other project that helps to lessen the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. IATA, the International Air Transport Association, describes it thus: carbon offsetting is simply a way for individuals or organizations, in this case airline passengers and corporate customers, to neutralize their proportion of an aircraft's carbon emissions on a particular journey by investing in carbon reduction projects. The IATA website then goes on to say that over 30 IATA member airlines have introduced an offset program, either integrated into their web sales engines or to a third-party offset provider. So it may be a voluntary contribution at the end of the checkout process, or the offset payment may be built into the price. Either way, the money you pay goes to support low-carbon, energy efficiency, educational or renewable energy projects all over the world. If your airline doesn't have such a scheme, you can still participate in carbon offsetting by making a payment using an offsetting website. Critics of carbon offsetting have suggested that it simply encourages people to continue to waste resources and even worsens the effect by making people even more complacent. But others point out that it can lead to an increase in awareness and leads to a change in habits and lifestyle that reduces a person's overall carbon footprint. In the meantime, if you want or need to travel by air, then you have this choice. So here's a list of airlines that have some kind of carbon offsetting scheme. Air Canada has set up partnership with Less Emissions to provide offsets. Air France have a carbon offset program that supports solar stoves in Bolivia and other projects. Air New Zealand provides its offsetting through a partnership with Climate Care to fund both domestic and international projects. Alaska Airlines have a scheme in partnership with carbonfund.org, which allows you to offset some or the entire carbon footprint of your flight. Austrian Airlines' partners are Climate Austria. British Airways give their customers the option to choose whether to donate in support of projects in the UK and Africa. Brussels Airlines have partnered with CO2 Logic to fund water treatment in Kenya and energy-efficient cooking stoves in Uganda. Cathay Pacific has a program called Fly Greener, which supports several projects. China Airlines have also partnered with Climate Care to help environmentally friendly projects. Delta Airlines give passengers the choice to support one of 3 of the Nature Conservancy's carbon offsetting projects. EVA Air is another of Climate Care's airline partners. Finnair have a scheme that supports energy-efficient cooking stoves in Mozambique. Harbour Air Seaplanes are a fully carbon-neutral airline, and they've celebrated 10 years of offsetting in partnership with the Offsetters Organisation. Japan Airlines give their support direct to 2 projects without an intermediary. JetBlue have also partnered with carbonfund.org. Jetstar Airways have a scheme called Fly Carbon Neutral Program, and it's available to all passengers travelling on Jetstar Airways and Jetstar Pacific flights. Kenya Airways have a quality assured standard approved program supporting a project called the Kasaragod Corridor. KLM offer a carbon compensation service called CO2 Zero, which is voluntary and can be included in your online booking. Lufthansa have partnered with My Climate, more details later, to support two projects, one of which provides solar-powered lighting in Ethiopia. Mango Air of South Africa also has a quality assured standard approved program supporting a project in Ghana. Nature Air of Costa Rica is the world's first carbon neutral airline, having achieved the status in 2004. Qantas have been providing carbon offsetting for over 10 years, and their arrangement is called Qantas Future Planet. Scandinavian Airlines compensate for the carbon footprint of their flights with the help of natural capital partners. Sri Lankan Airlines' Fly Green program provides support for small hydropower plants in Sri Lanka. South African Airways are another supporter of the Guyapa project in Ghana through their optional donations. Swiss Air support biomass and cooking stove projects through their optional donation scheme. TAP Air Portugal support a project called Eco Mapau in Brazil through their voluntary payment service. Thai Airways also invite you to make a donation at the checkout, and their program is audited by the Carbon Offset Approval Scheme of the United Kingdom. Tiger Air give you the option to make a donation to the Fly Carbon Neutral scheme. United Airlines have a program called Eco Skies Carbon Choice, which they say provides customers with the opportunity to reduce the carbon footprint associated with their air travel through the purchase of carbon offsets. Virgin Atlantic announced a new carbon offsetting partnership with Climate Care in March 2019. Virgin Australia have also celebrated over 10 years of carbon offsetting, and the payment can be built into the ticket price if you so choose. WestJet support a biomass energy project called Toronto Organics through a third-party partnership. And if your airline doesn't have a publicised carbon offsetting arrangement, it could still be making a contribution through other means. If you would prefer to calculate your carbon footprint independently of any airline ticketing price, then there are ways to do so. myclimate.org has an easy-to-use calculator that tells you how much carbon dioxide your journey will generate, whether you travel by aircraft, ship or motorcar. The website says that the maximum amount of CO2 a person should produce per year in order to halt climate change is 0.6 tons. But it goes on to say that the amount of CO2 a citizen of the EU produces each year on average is 8.4 tons. So, an economy class flight for two people from London Gatwick to Rome will generate 1.2 tons of CO2, so they suggest an offset of £25 for projects. A business class flight for two people from London Heathrow to New York will generate 8 tons of CO2, so the suggestion is a minimum of £171 for projects. The project might be to help smallhold farmers in Nicaragua with reforestation, or an education project teaching young people about climate change. Similar sites and schemes include the aforementioned carbonfund.org. So you see, there are ways in which you can make a positive contribution to combating climate change while still enjoying air travel. So sit back, relax and enjoy the flight, while work continues into developing cleaner biofuels and better batteries. We may not yet be flying around in electrically powered aircraft using electricity generated from sustainable sources, but they are coming. In the meantime, you can still use air travel and help with all kinds of environmental projects. And if you're still not convinced, then fly less often. But don't forget that your trips by road or sea will also have a carbon cost.